Greetings and thanks for joining us once again. The focus of our dialogue today is something that I call a 50% reduction in the cost of employees relative to the Tesla Semi. Now, I'm going to articulate why that occurred as part of our show, but I was really impressed. So once again, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading when it comes to Tesla, please join us on Patreon as well. So I wanted to do a talk today on the fact that there's something called supply and demand. And what happens with supply and demand is the more supply you have, the costs actually drop. So the real focus cost-wise today on the Semi really identifies something that was brought up by Pepsi that I think you'll really enjoy. But before we get to that, what I wanted to review today is the fact that when it comes to the Semi, Elon has his sense of elements of the vehicle that define it as being a great vehicle. For example, he often points out that, it basically handles and accelerates like a sports car. That is really great, and the acceleration rate of the vehicle relative to regular diesel trucks has also been articulated to be way better, much like what we've experienced with the regular cars. Now, the technical points that Elon has chosen to focus on identify things that are matter, but they're low on the curve of what key employees might be focused on. So what happened is that as part of the Freightways show that we talked about, it was articulated that something like 20, maybe even 30% of the current driver of the Tesla Semi under Pepsi are women. And, one would think that probably you would assign these vehicles with lesser weight for female drivers to the vehicles in Modesto that are moving chips around, which are a lot less weight than moving the weight of Pepsi sodas around, because water weight is sort of the heaviest load you can deal with. And in terms of skill, effort, etc., there's a little bit more to having a fully loaded truck with liquid. So what I was really wanting to dive into today is this 50% reduction in cost of employees. Well, if you think about it, one of the arguments that's out there is 63% of any company's cost is their employees. And one of the things that's happening with the Tesla Semi is that because, when you do driver school, there's a concept called heel and toe while double clutching. So there are these different techniques that you have to use to move the vehicle, much like driving a stick in a car versus driving an automatic transmission. And so Tesla is really an excellent automatic drive transmission that allows you to throw the weight of a Semi around as though it was a regular car. So one of the female employees articulated that what she loved about the vehicle was the turning radius is actually better than her regular car. And so I thought this was really interesting because, the employee costs are a legitimate issue. The cost of employees' health care and other things associated with injured employees is also another issue. So what I was really wanting to emphasize in this show is the fact that if in fact have female employees who are comfortable moving the freight weight of water as they go through their routes because of how the Tesla is set up, this now legitimately gives you a 50% larger potential pool of drivers when you have to deliver this product to customers. And so I think this is huge news because there are a lot of ways in which this will play out. One of them is that there are potentially more drivers. Number two, because you don't have to do heel and toe while double clutching and some of the other techniques used to move these trucks around, that ease of movement of that large freight weight now enables it to be a shorter training period. Therefore, you can have more people in action on the vehicle faster. So when you add all this up, it may not totally add up to a 50% cut in costs as we've articulated in our initial note, but nonetheless, we can say that the number is going to be lower because you're having fewer downtime days, it costs less to train, and you can have people of both genders driving your vehicle. I believe this signals a great possibility. We haven't even gotten to the full self-driving of the trucks that's being tested, particularly in Nevada yet. So adding this whole package up, I would argue then that another benefit that comes with the Tesla is the fact that you now have a driver population that's double the size of what the population might be if you did not have the electric semi in action. And I would say, hey, this is pretty awesome. And I think when Elon was going through his metrics at the initial day that the semi was introduced, he did not cover the point of things like training time, amount of downtime for injured employees based on issues related to the weight and challenges of moving the truck. The fact that you could expand the number of potential drivers to include a lot more women that would be comfortable driving a vehicle like this. So I would have to say that there's a lot of sort of little gems that are lurking within the Tesla Semi that will make a difference in terms of the experience of the using public in form of folks that have to move these vehicles around. And I believe sort of ease of use and the costs related to an expanded population of potential drivers makes the Tesla Semi an excellent choice for many companies as it comes to market in larger numbers. Now, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's something that came out where there's an interview that was done with the head designer of Tesla, and he articulated that about 70 of the vehicles have been produced to date, and this was a couple of weeks ago. I'm a little surprised because I had heard that production numbers were going to be about 100 a month, and the way the numbers lay out, because we have 39 in the hands of Pepsi at the Frito-Lay and Pepsi location in Sacramento, that means that the internal fleet for Tesla is maybe 30 trucks, and then beyond that would be test vehicles, et cetera, that they might be working with. So we definitely have a slow go as we're in production for this, but it's nice to have something out there in production in the hands of customers that we can gather data from as one anticipates how this vehicle will be introduced, particularly by the large buyers. So we look forward to your comments on all of this. And next, as usual, we go over to our health tips. As you know, there's a lot of things we've covered in terms of our health tips over time. One of the things I was really fascinated by in terms of people that we've met that I've interviewed was a whole discussion of hearing, particularly as you get to early 50s and north. Once a year ear testing is actually a wise move. And the reason is that if in fact you lose certain frequencies, those frequencies can be recaptured, with aids, etc. But if you choose not to and delay those ear testings, all of a sudden there will be sort of frequencies, etc., that you end up losing, and it cannot be replicated. So the earlier you're having this testing done, the better is what we're told. So it might be something to consider. And if you're a health professional of some sort and would like to add to this knowledge base, we'd greatly appreciate your, drop us a note in the notes for this. The one thing I'd last like to mention is that I'm finishing a master's in cybersecurity. I wanted to encourage you to consider, number one, if you're medium to large corporation, it's encouraged that you give your IT head, particularly the head of cybersecurity, a 1 week vacation each year, because it enables you to go through what's going on in that department that may not be maintained carefully by that individual that might be affecting your company. One other tip that I wanted to mention is that it is highly recommended that you have at least 14 letters, numbers, etc., in your password, because the length of time it takes a CPU to try to deduce what that password is, it's like multiple years. And it also articulates the reason why you want to change your password periodically to make sure you don't end up with a CPU, over time systematically figuring out what that is. At any rate, I want to thank you for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Just au revoir, le hitro, hodafes, ni hao ma, kambanwa. In Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good man. Namaste and have a great day. Thanks and bye for now.